whatever came before. Just close your eyes, and every exhale, just let yourself slowly land. We're going to be really bringing awareness to our rib cage today and our lungs. So what we want to do is we're going to start by just taking our hands and bringing our hands to the sides of the body and just wrapping your fingers around your ribs and just brushing along here and just getting a sense of the bony structure of your rib cage, just underneath your chest. And so we have floating ribs at the bottom that don't attach into the sternum, but if you take your fingers in from your ribs and get to the middle, you find this soft bit at the bottom, and then walk your fingers up, and this bony bit is called the sternum. So walking the fingers up to the sternum, we get to this joint here where the sternum connects into our clavicle. So the clavicle is extending along on either side, and that connects into our shoulder. So just having an awareness of how the rib cage is structured. So our ribs wrap around, and they wrap around from the back of the body. So at the very back we have our spine, and then the ribs wrap around. Use your hands to just feel the surface area, feel the soft bit at the bottom where the floating ribs are, and then coming up where the ribs attach into the sternum, and then across your clavicle here to your shoulder, and then back to your shoulder blade. And just get a sense of all of this structure, how it connects. And then the other side, across from your sternum, the clavicle, over your shoulder to your shoulder blade. And then bringing everything back. And let's reverse that. So we're going down the sternum, out the base of the rib cage to the back, and then wrapping the hands and just turning the hands so that the fingertips are facing down, and just feeling all of this area of your rib cage here, and just brush your hands slowly down and just feeling the lower part of the ribs. And obviously the ribs are then attaching in and beginning at the spine here, so they have 2 points of attachment in at each vertebrae, and then they move from here. So sometimes it's nice to have this understanding of our physical body in order to really experience our movement in a deeper way. Okay, so now close your eyes, and what you're going to do now is just rest the hands on the side of the lower ribs at a place that feels comfortable for you. So if it's a strain to keep them up and they're feeling high, then drop them a little lower. And just for a minute, I just want you to just notice the movement of your rib cage as you breathe. Not changing your breath or doing anything extra. And moving to another part of the rib cage, maybe slightly higher up, and just noticing. It can be nice to have the fingertips completely facing down and the palms against your sides, halfway up. And just notice how on your inhale, the ribs expand outwards, sidewards, upwards even. And on the exhale, how they slide back down. And then bring the hand to the lower abdomen, so beneath the ribs. And just notice your breath here. Get a sense of the movement. When the breath fills the lowest part of the lobes of the lung, then it expands, and it feels like the expansion is coming from the belly as such. So when we can reach our breath deep into the lungs, that is where our parasympathetic nervous system can really get the benefit of our breath. And this is the system that helps us down-regulate, relax, and renew and restore our body. So we're just going to concentrate on a few deep breaths filling into the lungs. So as you breathe in, just getting a sense of bringing and guiding the breath down into the lower abdomen, your lower belly area, filling into your hands, and as you exhale, softening and just letting that air travel out the nose. for the mouth. Inhaling. Feeling that expansion of your rib cage and exhaling, softly releasing. And now take one hand underneath the opposite armpit and hook it in under so it's right snug under your armpit. And I want you to now feel, so there's 3 areas of the ribs, the lower, or the breathing apparatus that you feel is the lower part, the middle part, and now let's come up to the upper part. So it's usually harder to notice the movement here, but with our hand in this position, just softly breathing. And you're not changing or deepening your breath, you're just listening to the subtle movement. What do you notice? Allow your eyes, your face to soften as you just become aware of the sensation of the hand against the rib cage. And just notice how this listening can be quite soothing. And keeping yourself soft and focused inside, slowly guide your other hand across your chest, underneath the other armpit, hooking it under, the thumb can be on the outside, and again, just softly breathing. As you breathe, can you notice the 3-dimensionality of the rib cage, the filling to the front, to the side, and to the back body? And allow this simplicity of this awareness to soothe and relax you. And on your next exhale, you can just slowly let that hand come down and let both hands come together, and you can keep your eyes closed for the rest of this practice. I'm going to guide you. So just brush your hands together, gathering some warmth into the hands. And then I want you to just bring the fingertips to touch and the thumb to touch. And so whatever position you're making with your hands right now, with all the fingertips touching, I want you to just think of where the thumbs meet the place of the spine, where the ribs and the spine meet, and then the fingers, the 4 fingers towards the front, are a reflection of your rib cage. So as we breathe in the rib cage, just imagine this expansion, so the fingertips separate a little and there's this breath in. And simulate it with your own breath, breathing in, the fingers stretch wider apart, and as they exhale, the fingertips slowly come closer together. And again, it doesn't have to be a big breath, it's just following whatever breath is there now for you. So take a minute to just breathe as you are, but just notice the movement of the ribs and reflecting that with your own hands. The simulation just helping us to understand the structures that facilitate our breathing. And then softening the hands. And then this time, as we breathe in, we're going to let our whole hand come out to the side. So as you breathe in, Breathing in, let your arms go out to the side and even extending them completely sidewards. Inhaling, you can have a little arch through the back if that feels nice. And as you exhale, slowly bring the arms forward. And as you bring the arms forward, circle and dome your arms until the fingertips may meet, and just round back in your body, drop your chin into your chest. This allows the diaphragm to push the air out of the lungs. Inhaling, breathing in. Exhaling, softening. Letting the breath be long as you exhale. And again, breathing in. Ribs expanding with the arms. Exhaling, the ribs sliding back and down. Once more, breathing in. Soft arms, light through your fingers. Exhaling, chin down, rounding back. And now we're going to take the energy of the earth, and we're going to bring our hands from the earth. And as we inhale, we're just going to allow our hands to come up, and imagine your hands floating up in front of your belly. Palms are up. As you inhale, you're going to turn your palms and press down to the floor. As you inhale or exhale, you're bringing your hands up towards your heart. So our hands in this movement are reflecting our diaphragm. So the diaphragm is the dome at the base of the lungs. So when the diaphragm moves away, it gives more room for the breath. And when the diaphragm comes up, it facilitates our exhale. So it might feel counterintuitive to your breath because you're kind of doing the opposite in terms of the inhale. Dropping the hands down, making space, inhaling. Exhaling, bringing the hands up. Like your hands are pushing the air out of your lungs. Inhaling slowly, pressing down, making space for your breath. Lengthening your breath downwards. Exhaling, letting the hands float up, pushing the air out. Take your time and just see if you could find this synchronization. In this movement, we're getting a sense of the depth and the length of the breath as opposed to the rib cage. We were thinking about the volume and the withward direction. So whatever way your hands are moving, just find it coordinating with your own breath. Don't worry too much about the details. Just let your hands move with your breath for the last moment. And then the next time the hands come up, bring the hands all the way up and bring them up as if you're putting a crown on top of your head. And you're going to interlace your thumbs. And you're going to just bring your hands up above you and lengthen your arms up, and then retract your shoulder blades down so the elbows bend and you create this diamond with your head in the middle. And you're just going to breathe in. And just feel the connection now between the ribcage and the spine, into the shoulders, into the neck. As you breathe in, what are you noticing? Do your fingertips pull apart from each other as the ribcage widens? And as you exhale, do the arms relax, the shoulder blades drop down your back. Just noticing the interlace of the thumbs helps us notice what is occurring in our shoulders, across our chest as we breathe in. There's an expansion, the shoulder blades widen, the arms want to separate, and as you relax, the rib cage lowers and softens so there's not that pressure on the arms. And again, breathing in. And just getting a perspective of actually how wide the rib cage is and how much extra room you're creating on your inhale. And very nice. And then just bring the arms up and circle them down and out. Nice. Now we're just going to bring our hands back to our lowest ribs. We just want to move our rib cage on top of our diaphragm. So you're just going to circle yourself, your ribs around your lower body, and just get a sense of this. So it's not coming from the hips as such, just getting a sense of this connection. So if you were to put your fingers underneath your ribs, this would be tracing all these points of connection into the diaphragm. And then we reverse, just changing the direction. And maybe it's nice to bring the hands to the lower back and just above it, just to feel the lowest ribs. And then we're just going to bring one hand to the side and brush down the side of the rib cage to the hip a few times, and just feel these ribs here and just allow them to soften. And then softening down, reach the arm down, reach it away from you. Feel the connection of the arm into the shoulder, into the clavicle, and have a little lean. Feel how that side gets a nice lengthening. And then press your lower hand into the floor and let your hand move, which moves your shoulder, which moves your rib cage and brings you to the other side. So press the hand into the ground, brush down your other side now as you come to the new side. Let your jaw, your chin, your eyes, everything relax in your head. Close the eyes, brushing the hand down. Reach the hand down into the floor. Feel the connection of the arm into the shoulder, into the clavicle. Reach it over. Imagine, close the eyes, imagine those ribs sliding and relaxing downwards. And then slowly press your lower hand into the ground and don't move your head. Allow your hand, your arm, as it reaches away, see the connection, this tipping point that brings the rest of the body up. So we're in somatic movement, we're always trying to draw a connection to how one part of the body, when used efficiently, can bring all the rest of the body into movement without muscular effort or strain. Nice. So from where you are now, let's come down to the floor. So just slowly take your legs to one side and roll onto your back. And when you're on the ground, bend up your knees so your feet are standing. Take your hands to the lower body, beneath your rib cage, and again just tune into your breath. When we're lying on the floor, we can feel more of the back body moving. So just notice your breath. The belly rising on the inhale and softening on the exhale. And once more, bringing the hands to the side of the rib cage, breathing in. And then next, cross your arms and hook both hands, opposite hands underneath the opposite armpit, and try to listen into the breath in the upper chest. And as you breathe, are you noticing the back of the body? The expansion through the back of the body. And as you exhale, slowly letting the breath go. And then very slowly relax your arms, let them rest out to the sides, wherever feels comfortable. And very slowly I want you to come into an awareness of your nose. So your eyes are closed, your body is rested into the ground. And your nose is pointing directly up to the ceiling, as if it was the horizon. So your chin isn't tilted up or down, it's in a neutral position. And there's a balance in the back of the skull that you feel the center back of the skull connected into the ground. You feel your 2 feet on the ground, right and left. Notice the weight across your pelvis. Does your weight feel more in one hip than the other? And can you sense one side of your rib cage more than the other in relation to the floor? And very slowly, I just want you to do a very minimal movement to turn your nose towards one side. So you're rolling against the back of the skull, allowing the head to softly turn in one direction. And you're going slow and doing less to feel more. So as you move, whatever pace you're going at, try and go 20% slower than whatever speed you're going at now. And really notice the difference that the movement creates through the back of the skull and the neck. And as you move, I want you to think of the skull as full of water, and as you turn your head to one side, you're pouring water out of one ear. And you just slowly reverse. Where there's any pain or strain, you need to do a lot less, or just imagine the movement. You want to stay in a place of ease. And as you drop the other ear to the other side, you're pouring water out of your ear. If that visual works for you, just to get a sense of the full volume of the skull. And come back into center. And now we're going to transfer that awareness of the volume into the pelvis. So I want you to just think of the 2 sides of the pelvis. And I want you to slowly let the knees tip to one side, and they're not going to drop completely to one side, but just over a few centimeters. Your feet still are connected to the floor. And then slowly pour the weight of the pelvis back to where you began, 2 feet grounded, and then slowly pour the weight to the other side. So you're not trying to drop your knees, you're just feeling the movement against the back of the body in connection to the floor. And as you move the pelvis, how is this transferring to the spine? So as you move the knees to one side, does your spine move too? Does your rib cage move? Does your head want to go in the opposite direction to your knees or the same direction? Even though you're only doing a minimal movement, how early can you see or feel the connection into the spine that moves the head? And just doing it nice and slow. Once more to each side. And then slowly, when your feet come back into the center, resting there. Feel the 2 sides of the pelvis, right and left, and feel how they relate to the 2 sides of the skull, right and left. Now think of the 2 sides of the rib cage, right and left. Back of the rib cage in contact with the floor. And I want you to very gently arch your lower back away from the floor and just create more space between your lower back and the floor. And then slowly curve down into the floor so that your lower back flattens into the ground. And again, slow down whatever you're doing, at least 20% slower. As you move your spine, notice how the rib cage moves. How you flatten your back, you feel more the surface area of the ribs against the ground. And as you arch the spine, notice how the ribs move away, just like on the in-breath, they expand outwards to the side. And on the out-breath, the ribs come closer together. I'm just noticing the spinal movement in relation to the ribs and how it coordinates with your breath. So just notice naturally what happens for you as you flatten into the ground. Do you naturally exhale or inhale? And as you arch away, typically the diaphragm is moving away, the ribs are creating more space, so this pulls the air into the lungs, bringing an inhale. And as we flatten our back into the ground, the diaphragm moves up, our ribs close, and it pushes the air out in an exhale. And then just let that go. Whenever you're finished your next movement, just relax. Feel the back of the body on the floor. Notice the shoulder blades against the ground. Shoulder blades slide on top of our rib cage. If you have room, you're going to take your arms out to the side, either side of you. And I'll do this sitting in case anyone needs to see me. So you're going to have your arms out to the side, you're lying on the ground. And you're inhaling with your arms out to the side, your ribs widening. Exhaling, slowly wrap your arms around the front of you as we did seated earlier, until your fingertips come in front of you, maybe even touching. And then inhaling, opening the rib cage, expanding. Exhaling, pushing the air out, hands come together, ribs slide down. Inhaling, opening the arms. Exhaling, closing the arms closer together. This time as the arms close together, bring one hand on top as if you're going to give yourself a hug, so that you wrap your arms around your chest. And then inhale, open the arms just as wide as is comfortable for you. And as you exhale, bring the arms, wrap them around, and see if you can bring the other arm on top now. So take your time just expanding the arms outwards on the in. Exhaling, wrapping. And as you breathe in, notice the placement of your pelvis. How does the pelvis support the movement of the arms and the ribs? And how does everything coordinate, the breath and the movement? And do less if you feel that there's too much information for you. Just focus on the arms and just breathing in where it feels appropriate for you. And exhaling. And slowing it down really helps the brain and the body to register and coordinate. Just take your time, nice and slow for one more. And the next time the arms come out to the side, you're going to bring their fingertips forward and press the fingertips again into each other. And it's in front of you and you're lying on the floor, your back of your body is against the floor. And as you breathe in, you're going to press the fingertips into each other and you're going to keep that contact. And I just want you to notice whatever you're aware of as you breathe in. Maybe there's an expansion that you're more aware of with the hands in this position. And as you exhale, notice where there's a softening. So for this position, you're really growing an awareness of your upper chest, the shoulders, all of these points of connection into the rib cage. So you're kind of keeping the minimal amount of pressure through the arms just to feel this whole connection, this clear line through the arms connecting one side to the other. And in this position also you maybe have more awareness of the spine and the lower back. And the middle back, the rib cage into the floor. One more breath. And then on your next inhale, just let the arms expand, float them out to the side, and then rest them down on your on the floor, either side of your body, and just relax for a moment. If you want, you can let the legs be long, slide them down onto the floor and just feel the whole body being held by the floor. Nothing to do here, just rest and drop. Very gently finding your breath, finding the movement of the ribs. Slowly guide one leg at a time out to the side and then bend the knee, bring the foot to stand, and the other leg, knee out to the side and bring your foot to stand. As you're lying now, place one hand on the lower belly and another hand on the chest. And I just want us to follow our breath, not change our breath, whatever your natural breath is now. I want you to just notice the breath, how it comes in. If you were to count your breath over 3 counts, just notice what the speed would be. So each count reflecting, filling the lower body, the middle lung, the upper lung, and then exhaling from the lower lung, the middle lung, the upper lung. So maybe filling 1, 2, 3, exhaling 1, 2, 3. Whatever your speed is, just count that 3 count to yourself for a moment. Keeping an awareness of the lungs. And the next time as you breathe in, continuing this practice, or if you like, as you breathe in 1, you're just, imagine your breath is 1/3 of your full breath, so that's like 33%. But anyway, it doesn't have to be exactly that. But I want you to imagine sipping your breath, like you're sipping a drink. So you're sipping in 1 and then you're going to pause, sip in breath 2, going to pause, sip in 3, pause, and then slowly exhale. So you're sipping in the breath, you're pausing with that amount, and then you're sipping in more, and then sipping in more. So the pause between each sip is just this noticing. And you're not trying to hold your breath, you're not trying to breathe any more than you naturally are, but you're just rationing it. So you're just breathing in a little bit, pausing, a little bit more, pausing, a little bit more, pausing. And each pause, I want you to practice just listening into the body. What's happening in my body? What sensation, feeling am I aware of? And then on the exhale, just slowly letting it all go. Nice, long, long breath. Just tracking that for yourself, sipping the breath. So keep going as you are. This is so lovely for the lungs, especially in times when we need to really look after and nourish our breathing apparatus. So we're giving the lungs their yoga as such. So take your time, go slow, do less. If something feels intense, do it less, do it at 50%. As you do this practice, you're really beginning to get a greater awareness of the lungs as a structure, the volume of the lungs and the rib cage, and how it affects the whole of you. And on your next exhale, just let your breath be nice and long. And then now we're not going to differentiate by 3 breaths, we're just going to enjoy a natural inhale. And as you inhale, at the top of your inhale, pause. It's like a pause to take in the view. And then as you exhale, let the breath slowly go. At your point of empty, pause again if you feel that's possible. and then breathe in. So again, it's your natural breath, and you're just recognizing the point before that you can pause, let the breath go. So you're just taking the pause before the inhale, and then the pause before the exhale. And we're really massaging the lungs and the rib cage and all the little connection points between the ribs and the spine as well. So just really enjoy this. If the pause doesn't feel good for you, then just let that go and just feel the natural occurring breath within your body. And then slowly on your next exhale, you're going to just let the breath go. Just let your hands rub against your chest, the side of the ribs. And then you're going to bring your hands and rest them down at your sides. And as you're inhaling, I want you to bring your hands up until they're above your shoulders. So as you inhale, you're guiding the hands up above you. And as you exhale, I want you to drop your arms behind you up over your head. So inhaling, bring the arms up to the shoulder level. Exhale, drop your arms above your head. When your arms are above your head and resting on the ground, just leave your arms there. Your elbows can bend a little so they're comfortable. And we're just going to have a few breaths here and just notice the connection of the rib cage when the arms are above us. As you breathe in, the rib cage lifts and widens. As you exhale, the rib cage drops downwards. With the arms overhead, we can build an awareness of how the rib cage affects the arms, the shoulders, and feel all the connections. As you did earlier, interlace your thumbs and let your elbows be bent out to the side. And just as you inhale, just notice how the rib cage moves away from the floor, how your back may like to have a little arch, and the elbows might like to, or might naturally feel like they're moving sidewards. And as you exhale, let the rib cage relax, the lower back softens towards the ground. And just notice the whole of the body breathing and how the whole body is involved in this movement. So as you breathe in, it's affecting the pelvis, the spine, the rib cage, the shoulders, and even the head and the chin. So as you breathe now in this position, just notice how the spine moves and how that affects the chin. So as you inhale, expanding the rib cage, the spine arches away from the floor, the chin comes down into the chest. As you flatten the back into the ground, your chin typically moves away from the chest. 2 more of these breaths, breathing in, arching, and exhaling, slowly expanding, melting the back of the rib cage down into the ground. Very nice, well done. And then slowly let your arms just come down to the side of the body, whatever way feels good for you. Turn your palms flat down so your hands are pressing into the floor. Feel your feet against the ground. And I want you to slowly press into the feet so that the pelvis lifts a little off the floor. Just a minimal centimeter, and then bring it back down. Just notice, how does your pelvis move? Does your tailbone curve up? Does your back flatten as you lift? How are you moving the pelvis in order to allow it to move away from the floor? So just research that for a moment. Be curious. Somatic movement is all about understanding the way we move, our habits, and just finding an awareness so that we can bring more space and fluidity into our movement. So relax the pelvis on the floor and just do a little arch and flatten of the pelvis so that the arch comes into the lower back and the lower back flattens into the ground. And the next time the lower back flattens into the ground, feel how the tailbone curves up. So when our spine flattens back, our tail curves up. Press into your feet and then slowly let the tailbone initiate, lifting up from the tailbone. The rest of the spine follows. And vertebrae, or trickle the vertebrae one by one upwards into a bridge position until you feel the rib cage peeling off the floor, and then slowly reverse. And try and plant each vertebrae of your spine down into the ground as you trace down to the floor. Take your time, really flatten your back into the ground here. Then have a little arch. And then flatten the back again, press into the feet, just a fraction. And then feel the tailbone curve up, which brings the hips up. All the way up, peeling the ribs off the floor. And if there's any tightness or strain or effort, don't go as high. As you come down, try and balance the right and the left side of the rib cage, the weight between the right and the left foot. Trying to keep both sides of the spine working so that one side isn't doing everything. So as you come up, you flatten your back into the ground, you peel your tail off, and all of the vertebrae follow. When you come up next time, press your hands down, open your shoulders, and just feel how this gives you extra support. So the legs, the thighs are doing even less, with the arms pressing down just a fraction, and then slowly massage the spine down. So when our arms are in connection with the earth, it's only just like a 10% more contact with the earth. Just like the feet press into the floor, so do the arms. And notice now how the pelvis becomes a lot lighter. The spine floats up more easily. And think of your belly button as being pulled up towards your ceiling. And then slowly sense the movement travel back down, and just think of the ribs connecting down into the earth as you go. And we do one last one. Relax at the end, have a little arch, and then flatten your back. Feel the contact of the arms, the feet, and then float your hips, spine, ribs up, belly button to ceiling. And then slowly feel the back of the skull, the neck, in between your shoulder blades. Trying to balance right and left sides of your back, so you're going slow. And then once your pelvis comes down into the floor, relax your legs long on the ground, let your whole body rest. Just notice your breath moving you. Do your shoulder blades feel a little flatter into the floor perhaps? And then very slowly slide one knee out to the side, bring the foot to stand. Slide the other knee out to the side, bring the foot to stand. And then let's come into our test move at the start, and just relaxing with your body centered. Think of your nose. Just slowly drop your nose to one side so that the head turns. Don't turn from your neck. Try and just feel the weight of the head pouring the water pouring out of the ear, so that all the muscles are passive, but you're just letting this weighted feeling turn the head. So that there's no pushing, there's no straining or stretching. It's just allowing for whatever mobility is there that comes easy without effort. And then on your next one, bring the head back into the center. Maybe you noticed that there was a bit more range of movement in the turning of your head. Let's add the knees like before, just letting the knees go fraction one way. Feel the connection between the pelvis and the skull and the rib cage in between. And then slowly bringing the knees back up on the head, and they meet in the center. And they slowly separate to the other side, nice and slow. You don't have to drop your legs fully, just a little bit. You're just trying to find this point of coordination, this tipping point. So try not to have any strain or effort to bring the knees back up. I want you to try and use the structure of your body to help you. So if your knees are to one side, the inner knee, the one that's not close to the ground, move that knee up to the sky first, and then you'll find that the other knee is going to follow because they are attached. So again, when the knees go to the other side, allow them to drop a little, and then the knee, there's one knee against the floor or towards the floor, the other knee that's higher, let that one come up to center first. And then the other leg just follows as the head follows. So if that's helpful for you, try that. Just let the structure of the body support the movement without any muscular effort. And then coming back to center on your next one, just resting. Just notice if you feel a lot heavier into the floor through your arms, shoulder blades, the pelvis. And just have 3 soft breaths in and out. And then from where you are, just slowly let the knees drop to one side. And then curl up onto that side. Place the hands on the ground and push from the hands to bring yourself into a seated position. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our opposite hand to our opposite knee. Our other hand is behind us. And we're keeping our chest as forward as possible to begin. And what we're going to do is we're going to slide our hand to our opposite knee when we come into the twist. So breathing in, filling through the rib cage. Slide your hand and slowly turn. And as you turn, you're looking over your back shoulder. Stay in this position and have an exhale and just soften the rib cage in the twist. Have a breath in. Within the twist. Another exhale, softening the rib cage in the twist. And one last one, breathing in, filling. And this time on the exhale, as you soften the rib cage, let the rib cage bring you back to center. So that there's not an effort in the body to bring you back. You're trying to let the volume of the rib cage bring you back. Change hands. So the other hand is on the thigh and the other behind you. Tall spine. Close the eyes. Have a breath in. Fill the rib cage and just stay there for a moment. Exhale, staying centered. On your next inhale, allow the hand to reach to the knee. Inhale, slide the hand. And slowly begin to turn the chest just to wherever feels good. And then exhale, soften the rib cage within the twist. Keep looking over your back shoulder. Breathing in. Exhale, soften the ribs. Slide them down. Once more, inhaling, filling. And as you exhale, soften the ribs and return back to the center. Once you're in the center, keep the eyes closed. Let the arms rest wherever is comfortable for you. And just notice the breath in the body, how the breath naturally moves the body. Maybe you have an awareness now as you sit and you listen in. How are my shoulder blades moving as I breathe? How does my shoulders respond as you inhale? The shoulders, the sense of widening to the side. And from our exercise earlier, interlacing the thumbs, we have more of an awareness of the upper chest and the shoulders. And as you breathe, noticing the back of the rib cage. And the front of the rib cage. And as you breathe, also noticing the side of the rib cage and the movement of the pelvis and the lower back, which we explored in this lesson. Noticing perhaps that on the inhale, the pelvis moves, it turns so that the spine goes into a slight arch. And as we exhale, the rib cage moves backwards on top of the pelvis. There's less of an arch. So just noticing whatever is occurring in your body, being completely fascinated. And hopefully from this practice today, you're also noticing the lightness that you can feel in your chest, which a lot of people tend to be quite tight, especially where the sternum and the ribs connect at the front. So hopefully you're feeling a sense of softness in this area of your body. And if you aren't, or if there's something coming up, you can always bring a hand there, and the warm contact of your hand will really help soothe and activate this softening within the bones and the tissues. And we'll do one last thing, one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. And we're going to do an S sound as we exhale. So the S sound is kind of like a hissing sound. It's just a really nice sound for lengthening the breath and softening where there can be tension held in the body. So we're just going to breathe in, nice breath in. And as you exhale, a soft S sound. It's like a balloon deflating, so any tension just emptying. So try that for yourself for a few rounds. One last one. Very nice, and just letting everything settle, resting in stillness for a moment. And as you breathe in, I want you to sense the breath coming in through the nose and breathing in positive, warm, loving energy into your lungs. As you exhale, just thinking of that S sound, just letting any tension deflate. Breathing in unconditional love and healing. Exhaling, allowing softness and space. And on your next inhale, expanding the arms wide as we did earlier. Inhaling, expanding. Exhaling, rounding over, rounding back. Wrap your arms around yourself until you feel the back of the rib cage and give yourself a rock and a hug. Giving yourself some TLC, rubbing the back, the rib cage, wherever you find, giving yourself a big, big hug. And I hope you really appreciate all the amazingness of your body after this practice, and just all the intricate movements that are coordinating all the time that sometimes we are oblivious to. So let's thank our body with so much gratitude, smiling internally to all the body, all the cells. And we thank and honor ourselves and each other for our practice. We say namaste. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. I hope you feel the benefits of your practice.